You've lost the same 15 pounds 4 times already. Each time you work harder than before, tracking every calorie to the T, forcing yourself through more cardio sessions, cutting out entire food groups, only to end up right back where you started a few months later. But what if I told you that this frustrating cycle really isn't your fault? My client Steve, a network engineer working 50-plus-hour weeks, has tried multiple trainers in person and multiple online programs. Nothing worked for him long term until he came to me and we gave him a plan that addressed the root cause of why he had this body fat, and he lost 12.4 pounds in his first 9 days working with me, and he did not even believe it himself when he first weighed himself. In this video, I'm going to reveal the hormonal reason why busy 9-to-5ers continue to regain weight that they worked so hard to lose in the past. And I will reveal the exact same system that my clients use that are in your same shoes without counting calories or doing a second of cardio. My name is Bobby O'Brien, and for the past 3+ years, I've helped dozens of men and women all around the world in demanding high-performance careers lose belly fat, lose overall body fat without counting or restricting a single calorie, or without doing a second of cardio, all while managing their busy career. My client Dion, who works in IT sales, lost 12 pounds in his first month working with me and has created a much better relationship with food and exercise. He went from dreading his torture-based cardio routines, his own words, to loving his workouts and looking forward to it every single day. His own words too. My client Hollis, a college professor, went from 265 to 217 while traveling all across Europe for the whole summer. After trying multiple drill sergeant and hardcore coaches in the past, he finally found a sustainable solution that worked for his demanding schedule. Today, I'm going to show you why the conventional approach to fat loss is psychologically mismatched for people that are working demanding 9-to-5 roles, and how a simple shift in your approach can completely break the cycle. So we're going to cover 3 critical areas: the hormonal reasons behind weight regain, why traditional methods fail, specifically for 9-to-5ers or anyone else working a full-time demanding schedule, and the insulin-focused approach that's helping my clients maintain the results long-term. So this is the hormonal reality of weight regain, and I'm going to make this super simple for you. Insulin is a fat storage hormone. When insulin is high, you will store fat, but when insulin is low, you won't. And this isn't some complex theory that I'm making up, it's basic human physiology. Yet every single conventional weight loss approach completely ignores this principle. Traditional diets focus exclusively on creating caloric deficits and excessive exercise that's usually focused on cardio. And this might work temporarily, but here's what they don't tell you. This approach often worsens your insulin sensitivity long term, especially if you're working a demanding role, and it does not even address the root cause as to why you've gained the body fat in the first place, which once again is because of insulin. When you cut calories drastically without addressing your food quality, your body will adapt and lower its metabolic rate, and your hunger hormones such as ghrelin will increase. So you're going to be left hungrier with a slower metabolic rate, which is exactly what you don't want. Meanwhile, this in combination with the stress of your 9-to-5 role is also going to increase cortisol and put you in a position where you're more likely to store fat as well. So it's almost like you're trying to drain a pool, but somebody is secretly refilling the pool with water as you're draining it. My client Steve experienced this exact same scenario with his in-person trainer who was focused on calories alone. He would meticulously track calories, see initial results, but then hit a plateau and then end up regaining all the way back because of everything that we just went over. His in-person trainer, like most, unfortunately, gave him the same conventional advice that most do, which is to move more and eat less, exercise more, do more cardio, cut your calories down lower, and not focus on your food quality and not focus on what's being done with those calories, and instead just focus on how much you're eating and just to eat less overall. And that advice was fundamentally incompatible with his high-stress network engineering job. So here's what no in-person trainer or almost anyone will tell you if you're working a demanding role and you're trying to find out why you keep on regaining weight. You are eating foods that are spiking insulin and keeping it elevated for a long time. The longer this hormone is elevated for, the more likely you are to store fat. And the foods that keep this hormone high is mainly processed sugars and processed carbohydrates. They not only spike it, but keep it high. And once again, if insulin is high, you will store fat. But if insulin is low, you will burn fat for energy instead of storing it. And that is something that is unfortunately ignored when you're just focusing on how much you're eating and eating less. And unfortunately, it's very common for people that are working in demanding roles to grab convenient foods that are going to spike insulin and put you in a position to store fat. So even if you are burning more than what you're taking in, you're moving more and you're eating less, number one, it's not going to be sustainable for you or for your schedule. And then number two, over the course of the long term, it will catch up to you because you're not addressing the root cause as to why you have this body fat in the first place. So even if you are in a deficit, you are burning more than what you're taking in. Number one, it's not going to be sustainable for you or your schedule. And number two, you're not addressing your food quality and what specifically is going to be done with the calories that you eat. So if you continue to not address that and you grab foods that are going to put you in a position to store fat that are convenient, it doesn't matter how much you exercise and how little you eat, you are going to put yourself in a position to inevitably store fat and suffer all the health consequences that come with those choices. With the stress of the demanding role that you're in, you can only deal with a lower metabolic rate and increased hunger for so long to the point to where you just want to lose it and you just want to grab everything in the fridge. You will reach a breaking point, and that's why it's better for you to address why you've gained this body fat now versus putting yourself in that position later on. Reason enough, there's 3 critical reasons as to why these conventional methods do not work for anyone that has a demanding 9-to-5 or full-time schedule in the long term. Number 1, tracking calories or the amount of food you're eating can take up to 5 to 7 hours of your time per week. And that is time that you simply do not have if you're working anywhere between 40 to 60 hours a week in a demanding role that requires a lot of your time, energy, and attention. And that equates to 365 hours annually, which comes out to 9 weeks in total. All that time being spent on activities that only lead to temporary results at best. Your demanding schedule requires a lot of willpower and bandwidth, and you only have so much of that if you're back-to-back on Zoom meetings, you're traveling, you're going to networking events. You only have so much mental energy and bandwidth at the end of the day, and if you're wasting time and time again on approaches that drain your energy, especially when it doesn't even address the reason as to why you have this body fat in the first place, that approach is only going to be something that you can stick to for so long. And number 3 is that it's just simply not improving the function of your hormones. Just being stressed with your demanding role alone can increase cortisol, and elevated levels of cortisol have been shown to elevate levels of insulin, which once again is the fat storage hormone here. And if we combine that with an approach that does not even address insulin, the root cause as to why you have this body fat, it is also unsustainable. It drains your mental energy. It's going to lower your metabolic rate and put you in a position to increase not only your cortisol levels, but ghrelin, which is your hunger hormone. Now you're in a position where you're more stressed than you were before. You have an unsustainable routine that does not work for you long term that you're continuing to do. Your metabolic rate is lower and you're hungrier. That is a recipe for disaster. So even one of those things is going to drive you crazy enough to where you don't want to stick to it. So that is why you have to follow the right approach. And unfortunately, my client Hollis, who is a college professor that we mentioned earlier, who went from 265 to 217, before he saw all that fat loss progress, he went through all these same things too. He tried multiple hardcore move more and eat less approaches that only led to short-term results that were not a sustainable long-term solution. And this always led to aggressive rebound weight gain. These programs honestly treated his situation like a simple math problem instead of addressing the hormonal reasons as to why he could not lose his body fat, and his career was only making that more difficult. And not to mention, any excessive cardio is not going to make this better either, which is exactly what Hollis did in the past. When you're just doing cardio by itself, or it's the main component of your routine, you're not boosting your muscle mass, so therefore you're not boosting your metabolism. Whether you're going on a run, doing some swimming, running on the treadmill, or doing any other cardio-based activity, you are boosting your endurance and you are boosting your heart rate. So as a result, you are not boosting your metabolism, which is the whole point of exercising for the purpose of losing body fat. And not to mention, when you're doing that in combination with a high stress demanding role that requires a lot of your time, energy, and attention, it's just going to be a lot more difficult for you to stick to that routine when you're doing 45 minutes of running on the treadmill every time you go to the gym, instead of a 30-minute push day where you do some weight training and you don't do a second of cardio, where you actually get the benefits that you need from exercise without spending too long in the gym or following a routine that you actually don't like to do. It works a lot better for a demanding schedule and it's far more sustainable, and that's why we have used it time and time again with many busy 9-to-5ers that are working demanding roles. And if this sounds like something that you would be interested in doing and you want some one-on-one guidance, you're more than welcome to click the link down below in the video description to book a one-on-one call with me to see if I can help you. So now we're going to get into the insulin-focused approach to seeing sustainable fat loss results permanently. The solution is not about counting more calories or moving more by doing more cardio. It's about addressing the food quality and what is going to be done with those calories once you actually eat them. And this all starts by understanding your metabolic health. Think about your metabolic health as a spectrum, and depending on where you fall on the spectrum, that's going to determine how your body responds to different foods, specifically carbohydrates. Now, I know what you're thinking. This is not a low-carb approach. We're simply trying to understand what is being done with the calories that we're eating once we actually consume them. and how we can actually increase the amount of carbs that we eat as we lose more body fat and correct our metabolic health. Now, initially, especially if you're looking to lose more body fat than the average person, you want to make higher fat, higher protein animal foods a huge priority in your diet. You do not see a response from insulin at all whatsoever when you eat fat on its own from red meat and monounsaturated fat coming from marine sources such as sardines, mackerel, salmon, etc. And the reason for this is that there is no sugar in either one of these fat sources. So if you just eat one of them by its own, for example, olive oil or butter on its own, if you were to eat that by itself, which not many of you will, but for the sake of the example, you will not see a response from insulin. So therefore, you will not put your body in a position to store fat because you are not elevating or causing a response from the hormone that dictates how much body fat you lose or gain. So making that a priority in combination with protein from animal-based sources that has all 9 essential amino acids that has been proven to help you stimulate muscle growth, having those two together is gonna put you in a position to not only boost your muscle mass, but keep insulin low and put your body in a position to burn fat and unlock it and use it for energy instead of storing fat to be used for later. Now, the second thing you want to do when following an insulin-focused approach is cut out any sort of processed carbohydrates or processed sugars, like we mentioned earlier, any sort of food that spikes insulin and keeps it elevated, and we also want to cut out seed oils as well. It does not directly influence an insulin response, but it can indirectly cause you to store fat, and it can also induce inflammation. So you also want to cut out any sort of seed oils as well. Sunflower oil, grapeseed oil, peanut oil, any sort of vegetable oil you want to cut out, and especially not cook with it. Because whenever you cook these seed oils at a high heat, they oxidize and turn into trans fat, and you don't need me to tell you that trans fat is unhealthy. Now, the third thing you want to focus on is nutrient density. Eating foods that are going to be nutrient dense, meaning they have a lot of nutrients. So red meat, chicken, animal food, naturally sourced carbohydrates that have a lot of B vitamins. Because the more nutrients a food has, the more full you are going to get from eating it, and you're going to reduce the likelihood of overeating. Now, the last thing you want to do when following this approach is make sure that you're eating the right amount of carbohydrates based off your current metabolic health and where you fall on that spectrum. My client Chris started at 236 and he wanted to get down to the lower 180s. So he had a bigger fat loss goal, meaning that his metabolic health was not in the best place. The more body fat you're looking to lose, the less healthy you are metabolically. But if you're looking to lose less body fat than the average person, say 10 to 15 pounds, you are more metabolically healthy per se than the person that's looking to lose 50 plus. Metabolic health is simply defined by 2 things: how you respond to the fuel that comes into your body and how fast you burn it. If you're someone that has a bigger fat loss goal, that means that you are not only somebody that has a hard time responding to the fuel that comes into your body by getting the wrong insulin response, but you're also not burning it very quickly. So we want to eat foods that are going to lower the hormone that puts you in a position to burn fat instead of store it, higher fat and higher protein animal foods, and keep carbohydrates on the not low carb end, but not as the main priority for now until you start losing more body fat. And that's exactly what we did for Chris. He went from 236 to 183 sustainably. And as he continued to correct his metabolic health and lose more body fat, we increased the amount of carbs that he was consuming. And by the time he got down to the lower 180s, he was able to eat 200 plus grams of naturally sourced carbohydrates every single day. But that is because he actually followed the right approach every step of the way that was based off his current level of metabolic health. If he would have just went straight ahead to eating 500 plus grams of carbs per day from the very beginning at 236, and he would not have had as much higher fat, higher protein animal foods, he would be making the problem worse, because even if those carbs were coming from a natural source, the root cause of this is once again insulin staying elevated for too long, and he would just be pushing that further because he would have worsened the function of the hormone that causes him to store fat, which once again is insulin. And the root cause as to why you end up storing body fat and why your metabolic health is poor is because insulin is too high and it is staying high for too long. And you will worsen that even if you are making carbohydrates the main component of your diet for the long term, even if they're coming from a natural source. But over time, as you correct your metabolism and you lower insulin, your metabolic rate will increase and you will be able to respond much more positively to carbohydrates from natural sources, and even down the line, occasional cheat foods from unnatural sources. You just have to make sure you're following the right approach based on where you're at and how much you're looking to lose. So the bigger your fat loss goal is, the more of a poor state your metabolic health is going to be in. Your metabolic health is defined by two things: how fast you respond to the energy that comes into your body and how you actually respond to it. Do you get a spike from insulin that stays elevated, or does it go back up, or does it go up and go back down just as fast as it comes up with a healthy response? The way you respond to carbohydrates especially is going to determine how much body fat you're going to lose with each type of diet that you try, depending on where you're at with your metabolic health. Is it going to spike insulin and keep it high for a long time, or is it going to help lower insulin and put you in a position to burn body fat? But that is all ultimately determined by how much body fat you're looking to lose and how unhealthy your metabolism is, based off where you're at and where you're looking to go. That's why for busy 9-to-5ers, implementation is absolutely critical. A morning meal or breakfast that helps keep insulin low by making animal foods a priority and focusing on eating naturally sourced carbs. Simple lunch options that work in office environments that don't require any extensive meal prep or calorie tracking. Following a weight training based approach that's going to boost your muscle mass and boost your metabolism as a result. So you don't spend as much time in the gym and you follow something that's more sustainable for you and your demanding schedule. And you also make sleep a huge priority in your life as well, since lower quality sleep and lower amounts of sleep is also directly correlated to increased levels of hunger and lower levels of satiety and a lower metabolic rate as well. You make corrections to all three of these things, and you make each one of them a huge priority in your life today while managing your demanding schedule. You will put yourself in a position where you are losing body fat consistently and sustainably when you follow this approach, because it's worked for so many of my other clients that were in the exact same position as you are. So the weight regain is not your fault. It is the result of an approach that works against your hormones instead of for them. So just remember this key principle with insulin. When insulin is high, you will store fat. When insulin is low, you will burn fat for energy instead of storing it. So having a foods to eat list that helps you keep insulin low based off your fat loss goal, and a foods to avoid list that keeps insulin high, that is going to once again be based off your fat loss goal, and following that to the T every single day, that will put you in a position to lose body fat consistently and sustainably while being able to stick to it long term and being able to manage your schedule. My clients like Steve, Dion, Hollis, and Chris were all able to follow this approach and lose body fat sustainably without counting or restricting a single calorie or doing a second of cardio. If you're working a full-time schedule in a demanding role that demands a lot of your time, energy, and attention, and you're tired of losing the same weight over and over again, I can help you implement the exact same strategy that we discussed today. Click the link below at the top of the video description to learn more about my coaching program to see if I can help you lose body fat while managing your demanding schedule. And you're more than welcome to check out all of the client interviews and an overview of the many transformations I've helped my clients see. Those two links will also be below as well. Feel free to follow me on Instagram as well. The link to that will be in the middle of the video description. And other than that, I will see you all in the next video.